I never told her how much I really made. Not because I was hiding anything, just didn't think it mattered. When we met, I was working 12-hour shifts in a warehouse, driving a pickup that rattled every time I hit a bump, and wearing jeans with holes I didn't buy that way. She said she liked that. Said she liked that I was simple, solid. Said money didn't impress her. Said she loved a man who worked with his hands. I believed her. I really did. And for a while things were great. We split dinners, took walks instead of fancy nights out. I remember one time I bought her a single sunflower from the grocery store, and she smiled like I'd given her a diamond. Said it was sweet. Said it was real. But somewhere between that flower and the night she rolled her eyes when I came home with greasy hands, something shifted. I couldn't tell you exactly when it started. Maybe it was after she got promoted. Maybe it was when her best friend married a guy who wore suits to breakfast. But it started showing up in little ways. Comments mostly, teasing. You should get a job that lets you sit down once in a while. I swear, I can smell diesel just looking at you. You know, Melissa's husband got a bonus and booked a surprise trip to Cabo. Must be nice. I'd laugh it off, smile, say something dumb like, yeah, must be, then go back to eating whatever I microwaved that night. But those words, they stuck. And they kept stacking. At first, I figured she didn't mean it. Just jokes. Stress. Everyone gets a little snippy sometimes. But it didn't stop. It got sharper. She started looking at me different. Not in a way I could describe, but I could feel it. Like she was embarrassed of me. Like I was something she settled for and forgot why. What she never asked, what she never seemed curious about, was what I was actually doing all day. She thought I was just a grunt. Some guy lifting boxes and moving pallets around. And I let her believe that. Because in her mind, if I didn't have a title, I didn't have value. What she didn't know, what she never once thought to ask, was that I owned the warehouse. I owned the trucks. I negotiated the routes, signed the contracts, built the damn company with my best friend from scratch. I was the co-founder of Crossline Freight. And I stayed in the warehouse because I liked being close to the work. I liked seeing how everything actually ran. I wasn't playing small, I was playing smart. But to her, I was just Jake who gets dirty. One night we were at a dinner with her old college friends. Fancy place. Cloth napkins, waiters with accents, the whole thing. Someone asked what I did. I opened my mouth. She beat me to it. Jake moves freight. He's basically a road warrior. Everyone laughed. She laughed. I smiled. But inside, it felt like she'd grabbed my ribs and twisted. And I realized something. She didn't want people to know who I was. Because if they knew, they'd know she'd underestimated me. They'd know she married someone who didn't fit the story she was selling. That night in the car, I asked her, "Do you really think that's funny?" She shrugged. Said, "You take things so seriously. It's just a joke." I stared out the windshield and said, "Yeah, a good one." The next day, I texted my CFO and said, "Let's move forward on the rebrand. Use my name this time." He said, "You sure?" I said, "I'm done hiding." A few days later, we had dinner at home. She scrolled Zillow on her iPad while I made spaghetti. She said, "There's this place in Oak Ridge. It's double what we pay now, but it's near my sister and has an actual kitchen island." I asked, "Can we afford that?" She laughed and said, "Not unless you start working for Amazon or something." I stirred the pot, didn't say a word, because I already knew. We were one signature away from locking in a contract that would triple our revenue. But I wanted to wait. I wanted to see how deep this would go. And I'll tell you right now, it went deeper than I expected. After that Zillow night, things started changing fast, but only for me. At work, the contract came through. National grocery chain. Big money. Big reach. We were no longer a regional logistics company, we were on the map now. I flew to Dallas to sign the papers, sat in a glass-walled conference room while guys in suits offered me espresso and asked me to speak at their next leadership seminar. I didn't wear a suit. Just a clean flannel and my best pair of jeans. When I got home, she didn't even ask how the trip went. Just looked up from her phone and said, "There's frozen pizza in the oven if you're hungry." I said thanks. Saturday down, ate in silence. She talked about her coworker getting an engagement upgrade. 3 carats, Jake. I mean, that's insane, right? I nodded. Said, "Yeah, wild." Then she looked at me and said, "I mean, it'd be nice to have something that shiny." She didn't say it directly. She never did. But I heard it clear as day. "You're not enough. You're not shiny." A few days later, she posted a video on Instagram, one of those reels, where people put text over a clip of them drinking wine and fake laughing on the couch. The caption read, "When you marry for love, not money, and he still comes home smelling like tires." Thousands of views. Her friends loved it. Comments full of emojis. I watched it twice. Didn't say anything, just saved it to my phone. Because I knew one day she'd forget she posted it. But I wouldn't. Around that same time, our marketing team launched the new company site. My name. My face. CEO Jake Sanders. Professional headshot. Story of how we started with 2 trucks and a dream, client testimonials, the whole deal. I didn't show it to her. I wanted to see how long it would take before she noticed. She didn't. A week later, she asked me for $500. Not for groceries. Not for rent. For a purse. All the girls at work have one, she said. I just don't want to be the only one carrying a fossil bag. I handed her my card. No questions. She kissed my cheek, called me the best husband ever, and walked out the door without even asking if I wanted coffee. That night, I sat in my home office, staring at the wall. Not sad, not angry, just done. Done hoping she'd see me. Done thinking maybe one day she'd ask what I really did, who I really was. I wasn't hiding. She just wasn't looking. Then came the gala. It was a big deal regional awards for companies helping feed underserved communities. Crossline had donated trucks and manpower during supply chain shortages. We'd kept food banks running while others shut down. They asked me to attend. Said I'd get a plaque. I told her it was some small dinner thing, nothing fancy. She said she'd come, mostly for the wine, I think. When we walked in, she was in full glam. Red dress, heels that probably cost more than my first car. I wore a clean shirt and dark jeans. She looked around the ballroom and said, "Wow, I thought this would be more casual." I smiled. Said, "Yeah, me too." Within 10 minutes, people started walking up to me. People in suits, people with titles. One guy shook my hand and said, "You're the Jake Sanders? From Crossline? Man, you saved our distribution center last winter." I said thank you. He asked for a photo. My wife looked like someone had unplugged her from reality. She kept blinking, nodding, fake smiling. Then the MC stepped on stage and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, our next honoree is a man who built a freight network from the ground up and made sure no family went hungry during the crisis. Please welcome Jake Sanders, CEO of Crossline Freight." The room applauded. Cameras flashed. I stood, gave a short speech, accepted the plaque, and sat back down. She leaned in and whispered, "You're the CEO?" I nodded. Said, "Always have been." She asked, "Why didn't you tell me?" I looked at her and said, "You never asked." On the drive home, she was quiet. Not mad, not confused. Just stunned, like she'd spent years living next to someone she thought she knew, only to realize he'd been a whole different person the entire time. I rolled the window down a little, let the cold air hit my face. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel small. I didn't feel like the joke. I felt like myself, fully, finally, and I wondered, what happens when someone sees the truth but it's already too late to go back? After the gala, she started acting different. Not in a loud, dramatic way, just quieter. More careful. She stopped with the little jabs. No more jokes about my boots. No more eye rolls when I got home with grease on my hands. She even made dinner 2 nights in a row. That hadn't happened since our 2nd anniversary. She asked more questions, too. Not the surface stuff. Real ones. How many people work under you? How long have you owned the company? How did I not know any of this? I answered everything honestly, calmly. No, I told you so's. No smug smiles. Just facts. Because at that point, I didn't feel like proving anything. I'd already done that. She was the one catching up. I think the thing that rattled her most wasn't the company. It was the fact that she didn't know. That for all her assumptions, all her years of thinking I was just scraping by, she missed everything that mattered. And maybe, in her mind, that meant she'd failed. Or maybe, it meant she never really cared to look. A few days later, we went to brunch with her sister and brother-in-law, the same guy she once compared me to. The one with the real job and the shiny SUV. He asked, half joking, "So Jake, you still hauling boxes and driving trucks?" She laughed, waiting for me to play along like I always had. But I didn't. I said, "Actually, no. I run the company that hires the people who haul the boxes and drive the trucks. 72 employees, 4 states, national contracts." His smile faded just a little. Her fork paused midair. And for once, nobody laughed. That afternoon, back at home, she pulled me aside and said, "You've changed." I looked her dead in the eye and said, "Number, I've always been this. You just never saw it." She didn't respond. Just nodded. Walked away. That night, I sat out on the back porch with a beer, staring at the fence I built with my own hands 3 summers ago. She came out quietly, Saturday next to me. Said, "Did I make you feel small?" I didn't speak right away. Took a sip. Let the question settle. Then I said, "Yeah, not just once. A lot." She wiped her eyes. Whispered, "I'm sorry." And I believed her. I did. But sorry doesn't rewind years. Doesn't erase the things she said or the way she looked at me when I didn't fit the mold she built in her head. I wasn't angry anymore. Not bitter. Just tired. Tired of waiting to be seen by someone who'd already decided who I was. A week later, she found the folder on my computer. The one labeled Press. Inside were years of interviews, articles, partnerships, headlines with my name on them. One read, "The blue-collar brain behind cross-line freight." She left it open on the screen and didn't say a word. Just sat at the table with her coffee, staring out the window. Like she finally realized how much she missed. Like she finally saw the weight of what she'd ignored. And maybe she did. But here's the truth by then. I didn't need her to see me. I'd already seen myself. Fully. Finally. And I liked what I saw. We didn't break up. Not right away. But something cracked. Something quiet but permanent. Like a beam in a house that shifts just enough to throw everything off balance. I started traveling more. Building new partnerships. Spending less time explaining where I was going and more time actually going. She started texting more often. "When will you be home? Should we do dinner this weekend? I miss you." I'd reply. I'd be kind. But I wouldn't rush back. Not like before. One night, I came home late from a conference. She was sitting on the couch, eyes puffy, blanket wrapped around her. She said, "You used to tell me everything." I said, "You used to listen." That silence between us, yeah, it grew. But it wasn't filled with anger. It was filled with awareness. She knew now. Knew what she lost. Not in divorce papers or slammed doors, but in something softer. The kind of loss that doesn't scream it, just lingers. Like cold air in a warm room. And I realized something important. She didn't mock me because I was broke. She mocked me because she thought I'd stay that way. Because it made her feel better. Because it let her stand taller. But when she saw who I really was, when she saw the company, the respect, the reach, she didn't feel proud. She felt small. And that was the twist she never saw coming. Not that I had money. Not that I'd made something big. But that I did it all, without needing her approval. Without needing to be shiny, without needing to be seen. And now she sees it all. Every bit of it. The man, the company, the life I built, and the distance I walked while she looked the other way. And that's something you can't unsee. No matter how sorry you are, no matter how late you figure it out, some things you only get one chance to notice. And if you miss it for good.